site it is. 8 different manufacturers, 9 models, and a brand new year for Monochrome GT4 Australia launches in Phillip Island. And that's a huge moment on the exit of the final corner, and we'll end up gently nerfing the tyres, and we'll get away with what could have been a massive, massive accident. But we're underway for race 2 in Monochrome GT4. There's dramas around, and Spin Campbell with a big, big moment in the Ford Mustang. 3 different brands, all fighting for the race lead. 7 minutes to go. Was that Cavalieri? It is. And the Nippies out is on top on Sunday at the island.
Yes, Phillip Island kicked off our season a month ago, but we are in the thick of the action of round 2 here at Sydney Motorsport Park. I'm Isabella Ling-Brugan, joined alongside Chris Stubbs. Welcome back to the Shannons Speed Series, and we're getting ready to go racing in our Monochrome GT4. And what a day it was for them yesterday, Stubbsy. Max Gagan, he'll start on pole here this morning, and backing up a race win from yesterday. He was in fantastic form.
Absolutely, alongside Tom Heyman. They have been the standout performers for Monochrome GT4 Australia so far in this season. They've won 2 out of the 3 races, and they're so evenly matched, and we've talked about that a little bit throughout the commentary. It gives them that edge when it comes to strategy and the options they have at play. Method Motorsport is the team, so for those who are maybe new to GT4 racing, that team is owned by none other than Chaz Mostert, the multiple Bathurst 1000 winner. And the progression even in Chaz has been quite remarkable. He was known as the clown, the character of our supercars field, but here he is with the team hat on and really developing the dominant GT4 organisation, and he's real straight bat when it comes to the racetrack when he's got the team hat on, that's for sure.
Well, I think Chaz, we know him for his personality, but Max, I think, has got a bit of it as well. He's been fantastic to talk to all weekend, so they've been fantastic to follow, but maybe not the story of the day from yesterday. Summer Rintoul, it was a milestone day for her, and she delivered.
Yeah, it was. Look, in the stop area here when we interviewed the victors from that race, now they were second outright for Summer Rintoul alongside Jared Hughes. This is the 888 entry, so that's one of Australia's best motorsport organisations. Of course, the Red Bull racing team in supercars. So we speak of Chaz Mostert, but 888 team here as well. And it was her 18th birthday yesterday, Bella, and when we were interviewing her afterwards, I said to her, you know, you can celebrate tonight, you're now 18, you can have a drink, but she doesn't drink, but she said that the team certainly would be. So congratulations to her first ever podium.
Yeah, it was fantastic to see her alongside Jared Hughes. We'll be keeping an eye on them in this Monochrome GT4 race. It's coming up very shortly, but it's now time to check in with Greg Rust, who's in the lane. Rusty.
Bill, I thought I'd debrief yesterday's race for Monochrome Australia GT4 as they raced into the twilight here at Sydney Motorsport Park with Lockie Manif, who picked up a special trophy, let's not forget, at Bathurst last year after a great year of racing with Shane Smolin. But in 2025, you've switched from Porsche to the Ginetta. Bittersweet yesterday. The car looked pretty pacey early on for you. What happened?
Yeah, we've gone to the dark side this year in the Ginetta. It's been really enjoyable. It's probably the most race car of the field. It's awesome thing to drive, and yeah, yesterday was great. We were qualified 4th and moved to 3rd at the start, and then able to get into 2nd outright, which was awesome. The we haven't done any testing or anything like that here, and the cars just rolled out pretty fast. So credit to Jordan Cox and the team. It's been great, and unfortunately got a pit lane penalty because of the pit stop. We had the engine started just as the last tyre pressure gauge come off. So a matter of a few milliseconds, and sent us a whole drive-through penalty, which is about 35 seconds. So yeah, really tough. Obviously, it's only a really small mistake from the crew, but that's motorsport, and you've got to cop it on the chin. And we're Rob's job to move it from 26 today.
You reset and go again today. We know that the car is quick, and I'm glad you bring up some of the people around you and how important that is. Your brother is here as a part of that as well. And what about the role that Jordan Cox is playing? How has that helped this weekend?
Yeah, it's pretty cool. I've raced Coxie the last few years in some of the other racing I've been doing, and then we team up here. He prepares it at his workshop here in Sydney, and transports the car and is a man of many hats. He's the engineer, I guess, crew chief, mechanic, and he does a really good job. And he's got the fine-tooth comb right through it, and he's done a really good job. It's a speedy car, and Rob's doing a really good job too. He got limited laps on Friday, and his pace in the race yesterday was keeping us right at the class lead before that penalty. So, yep, all plenty good ingredients. We'll see how it goes race 2.
Have a great Sunday.
Thanks, Rusty.
Bella?
Thanks, Rusty. Well, we know how important volunteers are to making weekends like this happen. We thank them for everything that they do and the time that they give up. And Shannons, very importantly, has a Shannons Volunteer of the Round award to honour a marshal or a volunteer who's done a spectacular job this weekend. And I'm very pleased to say I've got alongside me our Shannons Volunteer of the Round in Liam Tame. And we have Sunil Vora, the CEO of Motorsport Australia, to hand over this award to Liam. Congratulations. We can hand this award over now.
Congratulations, well done on a great weekend.
And a quick question for both of you. Liam, we know here your role is the Chief Pit Grid. Now, essentially that means you've been in charge of all the action that's been happening in pit lane this weekend, and we know so many categories on these Shannons SpeedSeries weekends. It can be a little bit of a puzzle that you have to put together. What's that been like, and what do you enjoy about the role?
It's really a moving target, to be honest with you. Motorsport very much is any part of it, and so I've got to rely on the team so often. It's not a one-man show, so this award really does go to the entire pit and grid team as much as it does myself. All the seniors, everyone who's here for their very first event. I think that's the best thing too, is just teaching everybody what the best things about motorsport is, and just showing as well that this is a great place to be, and volunteers really do run this sport.
And Sunil, as you mentioned, they run the sport. How important are the volunteers to weekends like this?
They're absolutely critical, Bella, and it's Liam's one of 180 volunteer officials working across the circuit this weekend, do an incredibly important role in helping the event run on time, run safely, run to our regulations, and so that everything can go racing in the way that we want to. So Liam's part of a fantastic team. He's worked his way through the ranks to get to a really senior level and is now helping to guide many of the young officials coming through. But it's a great team, it's a great community, and we just couldn't do it without him.
Well, thank you, Sunil. Thank you, Liam, and well done. Continue to do some great work here in pit lane this weekend. That's all for now, and we're going to take a quick break. Afterwards, it's ready to go racing in Monochrome GT4.
That's the scene at Sydney Motorsport Park as we build up towards race 2 for Monochrome GT4 Australia. An absolute belter in the Sydney twilight last night was won by Tom Heyman and Max Gagan. And from qualifying 2, they're on pole for this race as well. This is a fast flowing circuit and there's a lot of action in the 3.93 Ks. Earlier in the weekend, we cranked the camera into the Audi R8 of Daniel Price, and we'll crank it up now for a hot lap of Sydney Motorsport Park. That is a flying lap of Sydney Motorsport Park aboard Daniel Price's Audi R8 GT4 car that he shares with Blake Purdy, and he was 12th. The pair were 12th in race 1 yesterday. Thomas Randall's alongside me for this. Good race yesterday. Heyman and Gagan on top. The big story, though, perhaps even more so than the race winners, who admittedly deserved it and did a super job, Jared Hughes and Summer Rintoul on her 18th birthday, celebrated like they won P2 in the JGI 888 Mercedes. That was a great storyline.
It was, Crailsy. Good morning to you and good morning everyone who's tuning in on our live coverage here from the round 2 of the Shannons Speed Series from a lovely looking Sydney Motorsport Park, and that was a cracking result for them. We knew that was coming after all the pace that they had at Phillip Island. They just didn't have any luck there, unfortunately. But on her 18th birthday, what a way to celebrate. And she said in the post-race interview, I don't drink, but I'm sure the crew will be having a few beers tonight. So that celebrations, that's what we love to see in motorsport. That emotion, that passion for why we go racing. And normally there's a lot more lows than highs in motorsport, but when you get those highs, that's what we love to see. So excellent result for them today. Summer will be starting the car today, so she'll be starting in P6. And a few other good stories was the pace of Jake Camilleri towards the end of that race as well. So he'll be starting in position number 7 today. And also, yeah, Tom Heyman, Maxi Gagan, they have just been rapid so far this season, haven't they?
I spoke to Jake last night after that race. I said, mate, well done. That was an incredible drive. He was like, I'm not quite sure where it came from, to be brutally honest. He said the car was great, but it just all hooked up to him and it felt really good. So brilliant drive for the Queenslander to work his way up to 3rd place. Silver Am went the way of Cam Crick and Dean Campbell, who were really battling with their car. But this is how they start for race 2. So McLaren, BMW, Ford and Porsche in the top 4 grid positions on this. Jacob Lawrence out of 5. Jared Hughes and Summer Rintoul will start off the 3rd row if you bring Jake Camilleri in there as well. A couple of drivers to watch. Challenging day yesterday for Blake Purdy and Daniel Price in the Audi. They scored championship points though. That was solid. The other story, Aaron Seaton and Jason Gomersall, Silver Am car. They had a really challenging race yesterday. Gomersall dropped the car, the rear wheel off the curb between turn 11 and turn 12. Pretty savage on the outside there if you run too wide. what it did was broke the oil canister on the rear damper, the shock absorber on the back of that car. So the fluid that's in the damper that compresses and expands when the suspension trouble works, it's held in a damper, in a canister external to the shock absorber itself. That broke. All the hot oil came out over a really hot rear brake disc and it went boom. And there was a pretty spectacular little fire. Gomersall was able to get the car out of the way, pulled to the side, and then they lived to fight another day. And they got to the finish and scored some championship points, which was important for them, down in 19th place and about 6th of the Silver Am class cars. So tough old day for Gomersall Motorsport and the Ford Mustang, but they lived to fight another day. And the beauty of Monochrome GT4 is you sort of put Saturday behind you and move on with Sunday.
Absolutely, and they'll be lining up out of position number 11 for this one. And another story was Jacob Lawrence, who's having a great battle with Shane Smollen on Smollen's return to GT4. This weekend they had a pit stop infringement just under that mandatory pit stop time, but he'll be lining up out of 6th on the same row as Shane Smollen, so really keen for that battle as well.
So, an hour on the clock for race 2, Monochrome GT4. McLaren versus BMW on the front row. Ford versus Porsche next. Mercedes AMG in the mix with the JGI AAA car. Away we go. Big start for the BMW around the outside. Tim Lay will have no fear to go wheel to wheel if he needs to with young Max Gagan, but has a massive slide mid-corner and somehow hangs onto it, and it opens the door for George Miedeke to get up the inside. And the Lubramax Mustang goes to second, and that's the catch of the day so far. Tim Lay holds onto it, but a wild moment on the outside at turn 1.
I actually thought he got a better start, a better jump than Maxi Gagan off the line, and I thought he'd try to hang tough around the outside, but Maxi Gagan just slipped up the inside into turn 1, and that was pretty much a massive drift all the way through turn 1. And the last thing you'd want, especially if you're at the front of the field, Crailsy, is to have a spin there, because you've got another 28 odd cars behind you that will have to try and avoid you. But perfect start here for Maxi Gagan, and that just opened the door for Miedeke. So Miedeke up to position number 2 in that Ford Mustang GT4 as everyone else just cleanly makes it through this first sector and the second sector here on the opening lap.
Around the back of Corporate Hill, big braking zone into turn 8. Cold Pirelli P0 tyres at the moment as everyone gets themselves up to speed. Gagan clearly way out in front of the McLaren, pulling away. Good start, George Miedeke. All that experience and great opportunity there when Lay ran wide to get up the inside. Jacob Lawrence, solid start in the Randall Racing BMW. Daniel Price has made ground in that Audi. We talked about them starting on the 5th row of the grid. Well, he's up to 7th already. Shane Smollen slow away in the meantime in his Prestige Connect Porsche Cayman 718 GT4, and he's dropped a couple of spots. He's 2nd in the AM class and 8th outright. Summer Rintoul back to 9th in the Mercedes AMG. Nathan Callahan rounding out the top 10. So Gagan leads, Miedeke next, Lay 3rd. Silver Am leader is Jason Gomersall. So good bounce back for that team, up to 11th spot already.
And Jacob Lawrence got the jump initially on Shane Smollen there, but I don't know if it looks like he might have had a moment as we just see Rob Rubis now in the lane. That's such a shame for them because they had so much pace at the start of the race yesterday. We saw Lachlan Manif was up to 2nd overall and then handed the car over. They then had a drive-through penalty as well. So it's just a case of, I guess, the weekend unfortunately going from bad to worse for that outfit.
Yeah, Lockie was going punch for punch with the leaders in that Ginetta. It's the furthest up the field we've seen a Ginetta GT4 car since this championship started in Australia. So a really frustrating turn of events for them. That car's on the market, but it proved it's very, very competitive. They said it's a really good car in the fast and flowing stuff. It's got great balance, which means it doesn't oversteer too much, doesn't understeer too much. Really good through the fast and medium speed corners, like there are a lot of here at Sydney Motorsport Park. Off the road is the Ford Mustang. Jared Kite dropping down the order, the 21 car. Marcus Liddell co-driving that car. They had a really solid day yesterday. They were very competitive in the AM class. Another Mustang joining the ranks of Monochrome GT4 Australia.
Just on that lap alone there, Crailsy, Maxi Gagan put 1.2 seconds on George Miedeke, which is pretty impressive this early in the race. So just trying to build that gap, and we know that they're obviously going to have some extra pit stop compensation time when they come in for their mandatory pit stop. But a couple other noticeable performances so far. Jake Camilleri up 3 spots from starting in position number 7. He's up to 4th, and Daniel Price up to 5th after starting in position number 9. So that's been a good opening account for those two.
Well, more to the point, that's a lap record for Max Gagan, 34.1. It's 6.5 tenths quicker than the existing benchmark set, which was set by Lockie Maneve yesterday in the Ginetta. So that's a huge lap. Cool air, 19 degrees at the moment as Summer Rintoul looks up the inside of the vastly experienced Shane Smollen, 6th and 7th position on the road. Smollen leading the AM class, but doesn't worry about that at the moment. He wants outright positions. Shane was, while he won his class yesterday, was a little bit frustrated about being around that 14th, 15th place for most of it. He said, I'm faster than that, I can be further up the field, and he's certainly showing that today. But Ginetta back out of pit lane. Rob Rubis going very slowly up to turn 2.
Well, at the moment, there's a bit of a queue forming behind Shane Smollen. There's a group of about 6 or 7 cars here that he's sort of holding up at the moment, and I think it's a case of if Summer can get past Smollen, that'll just release her and that Mercedes, and then she can see if she can get on the back maybe of Daniel Price. So they're going to try and have to work their way through, and they're going to have an extra 10 seconds in their pit stop. So this is kind of really hurting them for the rest of the race. So the longer that you stay behind a car that close, you get all that dirty air as well, as we call it in motorsport, from the wake that the car in front creates, and you just start overheating those front tyres because you have to work them harder. There's not as much downforce on the cars. Yes, these cars don't have as much downforce as a GT3 car, but they still do have some good aero with the front bar, the splitter, and the rear wing. And the closer that you are behind a car for a long period of time, it just overworks those tyres, as it looks like she's trying to go for maybe a switchback here out of turn 5, because she actually seems really quick here. Now here's the nose down the inside. Smollen tries to squeeze her to the apex, but I think someone might have that move done. So great pass there down into turn number 6. They've got to be careful to navigate a kite there. That's quite awkward on the apex.
Rob Rubis in the Ginetta, so he'd just come out of pit lane and going very slowly. They did a nice job avoiding that. This is a very busy battle, and the AM class lead is here as well. So Jacob Lawrence just had a look around the outside of Nathan Callahan in that white, black and red Porsche. Bright red wheels on that really pops that car. Looks sensational. And the two West Aussie boys have had a great debut in Monochrome GT4 Australia. So there's a couple of Porsches in this. Sprint Challenge in some parts of the world is for this car, the Cayman GT4. So one make Porsche racing. They're all sort of finding themselves together on the racetrack in GT4 at the moment. So Smollen leads AM class. Look at Zoe Woods going down the inside. Silver class car, but gets the position. So Woods +1. She and Nash Morris had a ripper day yesterday. Let's go to Stubbsy.
Thank you, Rich. We're down here with the Ginetta. Well, we were. It's back out. It's coming back in. So Jordan Cox and Lockie Maneve, the co-driver here. But Jordan, you prepare this car. It's had such great pace this weekend. What's the problem?
Just won't rev out at the minute for some reason. So, yeah, it's stuck in some mode that we don't know of. So, yeah, the car's coming back in now. So we just want to suss out, get to the bottom of it at least, hopefully in this race. So, yeah, or at least see what's going on. Yeah.
Must be incredibly frustrating. You know, the pace, we saw that yesterday, didn't we? It's quick.
Yeah, we've been chipping away at it for the last couple of rounds and learned a lot from Phillip Island, and we come out firing here. So the car really suits this track as well, which helps. So, yeah, a bit unfortunate, but it is what it is.
All right, we'll let you continue to talk the car back into the lane, because here it is now. But Lockie, we'll just come out of the way here. For you, I mean, yesterday almost on the podium there and a penalty. Now this problem, mate. I don't know whether we put the Mozza on you by interviewing you right before this race started, but I apologise if we did. Just frustration, mate.
Yeah, mate, it's hard. I think, you know, I've got to hold my head high. I'm pretty happy with the performance that, you know, I put in this weekend. And, you know, I guess if the Ginetta was the most ideal car, there'd be 8 or 9 of them out on the grid, and we're the only car here. But, you know, it's clearly got a lot of potential. You know, I'm really happy with the lap record yesterday. And, yeah, it's a bit tough, but that's motorsport.
Thanks, mate. We've got a crash, so we'll get back to the comms.
All right, thanks.
Stubbsy, thank you. Big moment. Exit of the Corporate Hill left-hander. Fast corner on the outside of the racetrack. and then contact with the barriers on the inside of the wall, and the Mercedes AMG has had a pretty hard lick.
Yeah, that's a big front impact there, Crailsey. I would say it looks like from the rubber that's down in the background, it's just gone to a safety car.
I reckon that's John Nikolovsky in one of the 3 AR19 Motorsport Mercedes AMG GT3s. He was running just inside the top 20 and is now tumbling down the timing monitor. So that's a big impact. It's a fast corner, and the car's properly loaded up on the right-hand side. And we've seen so many times here, Tom, that if you get that wheel off on the outside, you are a passenger.
Absolutely, and first and foremost, let's hope he's okay. But just from the rubber that was laid down on the exit, you could see at turn 7. I'd say that he's probably lost the rear coming out of Corporate Hill, not being able to save it, and there's no tyre wall on the left-hand side on the exit between turn 7 and turn 8. So it looks like he's probably just had a direct frontal impact on that left-hand side concrete wall. As we've got a replay here now, and yeah, that's a big impact. So heavy contact straight into the front of the Mercedes, and that's just absolutely caved the front end of that Mercedes.
So big damage. We're behind the control of the BMW M safety car, and the Nikolovsky Mercedes AMG GT4 will be out of this race. Max Gagan leads the way as we race towards the pit stops in Monochrome GT4. Shane Smollen on top in the AM class. Jason Gomersall on top in Silver AM. So the field will condense themselves, and for the drivers that have a longer pit stop time, this is worst possible case scenario for them, because this will ruin any advantage that they may have had built up. So Max Gagan had more than 3 seconds in the race lead, and unfortunately that is all going to disappear. So with their extra pit stop time they've got today, that will be very costly for the Method Motorsport McLaren team.
And we're 14 minutes into this race, Crailsey, so you'd say this safety car period will be for at least 5 minutes, and to try and make up time after that, it's going to be nearly impossible for them. So this is going to really hurt them when the pit stop cycle is complete. Like you touched on, they're going to have an extra 15 seconds of pit stop time. So when the safety car comes in, the top 10, top 15, it might be separated by that. So looks like he's a little bit shaken there, does Nikolovsky, and got the medical team on site there, so he'll be heading off to the medical centre once they pick him up. But yeah, anyone that's got those pit stop compensation times, this is really going to hurt their race. Rusty?
Tom, just earlier in the race, we saw a little moment for the Mustangs. I thought I'd check in with Marcus Liddell. Firstly, you had permission this morning, you guys, for a kind of a sighting or checking lap. Just what was that about?
Yeah, we had a bit of an issue yesterday. Jared had a spin, unfortunately, a couple of laps after he got in the car. It triggered an ABS fault. We checked it with the Ford Performance guys last night, but we just wanted to make sure the car was okay under load, and also the hit that I copped in turn 2 on the first lap. Look, nothing structural by the looks of things, but we just wanted to make sure everything was okay.
Report card on the race so far. I mean, obviously we're in a safety car scenario here at the moment. It's been a tough start for you guys. What's happened there?
Jared just looks like he had a spin on cold tyres coming out of turn 6. So, look, sorry to John. John Nikolovsky's a mate of mine, and terrible to see a car like that in that way. But the safety car really helps us, brings us back up. And obviously, being P nowhere yesterday, we've got no pit stop time. So we can now probably make the most of it and move forward.
Leave you to it. Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks, Rusty. Nice work chatting to Marcus Liddell. And yeah, so while the safety car is bad for some, it's really good for others, because it helps combinations like the Liddell entry and Jared Kite to get themselves back into the mix, and they get basically a free kicker, opposed to those who have to spend a little bit of extra time in pit lane. So we're being told that Johnny Nikolovsky has been taken to the medical centre for precautionary checks. The grass tells the telltale sign of where that impact was. The wall on driver's left on the run into turn 8 here at Sydney Motorsport Park. Recovery underway. A lot of coolant has been dropped out the front of Mercedes AMG. Fortunately, well off the racing line. That's the little link road for the short Druitt circuit here at Sydney Motorsport Park. All of the various configurations of this place named after various great racetracks that the Australian Racing Drivers Club have been involved in. The Amaroo circuit, of course, the Gardner GP circuit named after the great Wayne Gardner, the 1987 500cc world champion. That's what we're racing on now. The Brabham layout is the full circuit here at Sydney Motorsport Park. Big weekend in the Precinct 2, drag racing across the road at Sydney Dragway. Lots going on. There's actually a traffic jam getting out of the joint last night. Not that you'd know that, Tom. You were here debriefing very late in the evening after a runner-up finish in GT World Challenge Australia, powered by AWS. I don't think we've had an opportunity to debrief that yet, but a ripping drive by you. We'll talk about that briefly because you took 2 tyres in that pit stop, and I would imagine it would have been a little hairy on the rejoin, perhaps.
Thanks, Crailsy. That hairy is a good word to sum that up. I unfortunately didn't get a run in qualifying. We were still sort of doing our tyre prep procedure, and then the red flag came out. So I will be starting last today. Actually, I had to get permission to race today because I did a 5-minute lap time. So haven't actually experienced like a cold tyre properly around here, and came out of the lane when I took over the car from Marcel, who drove exceptionally well in his opening stint. And it was a battle of trying to defend from, I think, Renee Gracie at the time,
yeah,
and having right-hand side cold tyres. I think I nearly spun about 3 times, but yeah, it was a great result for those two, and for us two, I should say, and cool to get on the podium. And that was Marcel's first Pro-Am race and his first Pro-Am podium. So, look, I can't guarantee that'll happen today because we have an extra 10 seconds in our stop. We're starting last, but hey, we're here to have a good time.
I like it. I like how you instantly went back into commentator mode. Good result for them. Oh, me. I was
That's
involved
right.
in that.
I was third person, first person. Stubbsy, what do you got for us down in the lane?
Thank you. Well, we thought we'd just take the chance to catch up with Tom Heyman. Now, first of all, our thoughts are with John, and no one likes to see that. He's a popular guy, so we're wishing him all the best with his health and that there's no impact there. But, Tom, it impacts your race in terms of the timing. It couldn't have been worse, could it?
Yeah, well, obviously, first off, glad to see Johnny got out of the car and he's okay, and yeah, looked like a pretty big hit. So hopefully the guys down there get the car fixed for next round. But yeah, it affects our race pretty big with a 15-second stop. So we'll just have to play it by ear, see how everyone stops, and hopefully we can come back in the second stint as much as we can.
In terms of the start, it was pretty wild out there. What's Max's report on the car and how it's progressing?
Yeah, by the sounds of it, car's quick, so hopefully that shows in the second stint. We can come through and close that gap a little bit more. But yeah, we'll see how we go. Max says the car's good, so see how we go.
Thanks for your time, mate.
Thanks.
We've been talking in the coverage about the size of the field here in Monochrome Australia GT4 and the quality driver lineup in it, but that's also meant some expansion and introduction of quality teams in Australian motorsport. This is Andy McElrea, who we are very used to seeing in things like Porsche Michelin Sprint Challenge, Carrera Cup and so on, but you and the team here have got a project happening. Tell us about that and how it's all going.
We've been involved with GT racing in 5-6 years ago. We had a lot of success. We enjoyed it at the GT3 level, and we've been looking to get involved with the GT system for a couple of years. And then Nathan showed some interest in GT4, and it fitted really well. We've got a relationship with Morris from back in the Carrera Cup days with Jackson Evans, so it was a great fit. He wanted to do GT4 racing, and we wanted to get involved in this paddock. So here we are, and we're loving it.
Are you enjoying it, and how big has the undertaking been in relation to all of the other activity that you do in a racing sense, Andy?
This is a very, very well run and administered championship with SRO. It's a global product. It's very, very well run. It's been easy for us to slot into it and pretty much hit the ground running from day one. So this is our second round in the GT4 category, and it's really good. Great camaraderie between the teams. We all get on. We all work in together, and it's good. Just a fun paddock to be involved with at the moment.
Before we go back to racing, probably one of the hardest hitting motorsport journalist questions, courtesy, I think, of Richard Crail in the commentary box. Has this inspired a potential driving comeback for you at all?
Not at all.
Crail, we'll leave you to it. Andy McElrea, nice to see him here in the paddock, very active in GT4 now too.
I thought he'd give you more than that, Rusty. I won't lie to you. I won't lie. No, thank you. Good to hear from Andy McElrea, great character in the paddock, and his close mate Tim Miles doing good things in GT World Challenge Australia as well. They had a tough evening yesterday in the Dale ITM Audi R8. And the McElrea family have been responsible for punching some very good, talented young drivers into the racing world. And Jackson Evans, he mentioned, Matt Campbell, another, and the list goes on. And I'm sure Hunter McElrea is watching on from the United States, where he's carving out a very successful career in sports car racing. There is the BMW M safety car, the M3. Very competitive car. In fact, a very similar model to this. Very nearly won the Bathurst 6 Hour a couple of weeks ago, and they basically bolt a roll cage in and put some different tyres on and send it. So they are a hugely capable car, and we thank our friends at BMW for their support of the Shannons Speed Series. The BMW M safety car leading the field around. We're told one more lap before we go back to green, and that will almost, Thomas, correspond with the pit window opening. It will be very close, potentially a lap, if that, before people can start diving into pit lane to tick that pit stop box.
Well, at the moment, Crailsy, position 18 is 15 seconds off the leader. So Maxi Gagan and Tom Heyman, they've got to serve an extra 15 seconds in the stop. So we're hearing, well, this will be the final lap under safety car. So safety car in this lap, so that's going to just eat into their race result massively. So for Maxi Gagan, for Camilleri and Summerental, they've all got extra time, but it's the 25 McLaren that this is going to hurt the most.
So you would imagine then that Method Motorsport will leave Max out as long as you possibly can. The last possible time to get into pit lane without breaching the pit stop regulations. And the message will be to Max, go as fast as you can, build as big a margin as you possibly can. Damage limitation will be key for the WM Waste McLaren Artura.
That's pretty much what they did yesterday, because they had a pit stop compensation from Phillip Island. So they stayed out pretty much until the 34-minute marker, where the lane shuts at 34 minutes 59 seconds. But as we just get set for a restart, lights are out, safety car making its way back into the lane, and Gagan will control the field as he comes around turn number 11 with Mediki all over the rear bar of that McLaren.
And look who is in fourth place, Jake Camilleri, who continues to do great things in his Mercedes AMG. So car 36, he's got an extra 5 seconds to serve in his pit stop over the mandatory pit stop time. Away we go, back to racing. BMW M safety car back in the lane. Gagan knew that the Mustang would be good on the restart. The big V8's got so much torque. It launches out of slow speed corners and on restarts really well. And George Mediki as well, adept at this style of racing. So much so, he looks to the outside at turn 2. Gagan's up for that, but the old over-under at Sydney Motorsport Park will work for George here. Racing room given on the outside, great stuff. Gagan holds on. Mediki really fought for it though. Brilliant restart, he's not giving up yet. He'll slice down the inside at turn 4. Can the McLaren hold on? More side-by-side racing. Max is going to be in the correct racing line for turn 5. Finally gets the thing in front. And is that enough, or will we get more of an attack down here at turn 5? There will. Gagan blocks. Mediki on the outside. Watch for Tim Lane behind. Camilleri buying into this. Awesome GT4 racing.
And that all started from Maxi Gagan at turn 1. Had a massive slide in the middle of turn number 1. Had to cover at turn 2, and Mediki went for the switchback but just couldn't quite make it work on the exit. And that was a great exchange all the way down into turn number 6, and Tim Lay right in behind trying to get a sniff and see if there's a potential possibility of capitalising on those two out in front battling. And Maxi Gagan, all he'd be thinking is, hey, I need to stay out in front here because I need to build up that lead because I have such a big penalty for winning the race yesterday. And you know, Mediki be thinking, I don't even give a rat's about that. I just want to get out in front and stay in front. And there's Aaron Seaton getting ready with the pit stops, and the window has opened. So we see the Mercedes of, I think that is Summerental, the first to pit. And Daniel Price is in as well. Zoe Woods, Jacob Lawrence. So the pit window, as we said, is open. Gombasol's in. This is going to be pretty lively as they all head down together. This is going to be a bit of a traffic jam in pit lane.
I was talking to Garth Walden last night, a little debrief post-event, and he said they got boxed in. They lost 20 seconds in their pit stop because they just had nowhere to go. And then Rob Woods from TechWorks sauntered up, and it was their car that was getting in the way. So they kissed and made up. It was all good. I think they bought each other a beer and had a laugh about it. But it was like, it's one of those things. You've got to deal with that in this style of racing. So pit stop's underway. Hey, out of this top 3, guess who's got the shortest pit stop time? It's the BMW in 3rd place. It's Tim Lay and Cody Bircher. They are looking really, really good, the Central West Prestige car.
Just looking down at car number 18, Thomas has been handed a 5-second penalty for a restart breach, but also car number 35, the Mediki, I don't think they've got a pit stop time either. So 2nd and 3rd place are looking good here, Kralsey.
Yeah, it's really going to hurt Gagan and Heyman in that McLaren. They're going to drop a bunch of time. So 5-second penalty restart breach. You'd imagine that would be for overlapping on the restart for car 18.
Yeah, possibly. I mean, there's so many procedures on a restart, isn't there, Kralsey, with regards to, no more weaving, all those sorts of things, controlling the pace, and there's Mediki in the lane. So their pit stop time will be 116 seconds from pit entry to pit exit, where unfortunately for Heyman and Gagan, they've got to do 131 seconds, so that's going to feel like an eternity. And at the moment, 15. They're probably going to pop up around about 7th or 8th or 9th. So it's
that's close.
Thought. Yeah, that is close on the exit, and that
was Nash Morris rejoining in front of Blake Purdy in the Audi and did the right thing, Nash. So he was basically released into the path of the Nippy's Audi and elected to just slot in behind. That didn't argue the point, got around. So this is a busy rejoin. You talked earlier about how challenging it is to come out of pit lane and get up to speed. Now, they haven't put tyres on these cars in this race, so they'll at least have some warm Pirellis, but better to have been on the racetrack circulating than coming out of the lane, which is interesting for mine because Tim Lay is staying out an extra lap over the Lubrimax car. So Mediki's pitted to hand over to Rylan Gray. Tim Lay has elected to stay out, so perhaps they're going for a little overcut there, potentially, in that pit stop battle.
Well, I think a bit of clear air as well, because he was racing Mediki, and they've shown in that BMW, in the Tim Lay BMW, he had heaps of pace in qualifying yesterday. We thought maybe he was on for pole before he got balked into the final sector. And I think they would know that Maxi Gagan and Heyman at the moment is not too much of a threat, given that they've got an extra 15 seconds added to their time. So there's probably no reason why they shouldn't just leave Tim Lay out there for a little bit longer. He's got plenty of pace out there. At the moment, he's about, 3.5 seconds behind Maxi Gagan. But while now Rylan Gray will be taking over that Mustang, it may as well capitalise on that clear air, as we've just seen. Another report has popped up on our time in car 48, so that's Blake Purdy. They've been handed a 5-second penalty for speeding in the pit lane.
Yeah, that's big for them. That cost them big time, and that will be added to their race time post-race as well. So really interested to see the rejoin once we get Tim Lay into pit lane, and he's gone around again. Still got the time. He's going to maximise this as much as he can. And I wonder if Cody Bircher, when he takes over that BMW, he's going to end up in the same bit of racetrack as Rylan Gray. I reckon the time to pit is now for that BMW, while Rylan's still getting up to speed. Don't let him go and start punching out green sectors in the Mustang. Don't let him get up to speed. Get your stop done and then rejoin so the margin between them is as small as possible. Gagan's still the outright leader. Nathan Callahan leads the way in the AM class. Still a group of cars. Only 2 cars in the top 10 at the moment have completed a pit stop. In fact, they're still in pit lane. Lockie Hennock in the second of the Method Motorsport cars. Tim Berryman in the Toyota Supra for Garth Walden Racing. And they're going around again.
And the Berryman car, they don't have any extra pit stop compensation time. So we know that the Campbell Crick car had the extra 15 seconds as well. So that's going to probably hurt them a little bit. But for Berryman, I think that's going to really work for them in this race as well, as Camilleri comes in the pits from position number 3. But like you said, Kralsey, both first and second position have elected to stay out for now.
So Lay goes around again. So too Max Gagan. Callahan up to 3rd, yet to stop now. So only the 5-6 cars on the racetrack yet to make a pit stop. Here's the West Aussie, sharing with his good buddy Chris Lillis. They've come out of production car racing. Nathan, a hugely experienced guy in HQ Holden's first, then saloon cars over in the West. He's had an outright podium finish and a class win at the Bathurst 6 Hour in production car racing, but also bangs around in the V8 late models as well, and a little bit of sideways there in the Porsche Cayman. The Grand Car in 777. They're having a good time leading the AM class. It's shaping up to be a good battle between them and Shane Smollen for the AM victory today.
So just chasing the sectors for you. So Ryland Gray on that lap, first sector 28.4, and Tim Layer 28.4 as well. But if you go down to Jared Hughes, who's just set the purple first sector with a 27.7. So they had to serve an extra 10 seconds in their stop. And at the moment, he's about 2 seconds behind Aaron Seaton. So he'll be wanting to try and capitalise on the pace in that Mercedes and whether he can get past Aaron Seaton quickly. But at the moment, Gagan still staying on the track. His first sector on that lap was a 28.0.
In comes Tim Lay. So this, we think, could be the critical stop of the race. And his rejoin versus Ryland Gray could dictate who wins Silver Class and indeed wins the race. So Max Gagan continues onwards and bowls it very wide at turn 2. Little error there from the race leader. Can't afford to give away time. Into the lane comes the BMW. So this will be a key pit stop. And on the rejoin, we'll need to watch for where the Lubramax Mustang is. Ryland Gray's just done a 36.4. And as you touched on, basically similar lap speed to the laps that Tim Lay were doing. They were about 2 seconds apart when the pit stop sequence shuffled. So has Lay been able to make up some time while he stayed out on the racetrack? Or has Ryland Gray cancelled some of that margin? That's the big question. That's the rejoin we're going to get when this pit stop ends at 116 seconds.
Nothing like using the old iPhone to make sure your pit stop is right. I think there's the boys down there and just doing their driver change, which has been completed. I think Tim should be quite happy with his job. And look who's there. The first person that reporting on the driver performance, Rusty, we can see in the background, which is good. But to be honest, Crailsy, I think the overcut here is probably going to work in their favour, because while Ryland Gray had to get up to speed a little bit, it might suit them, as now our race leader, car 25, Maxi Gagan, in the lane.
So Gagan in, that shows you the difference and how long a pit stop is, because Cody Birch is about to depart his box and almost very much could go a lap down as Max Gagan leaves. So there goes Bircher. Gagan hits the 40k mark. Rusty?
They would say that I'm a pest rocking up a little too soon, Krasy, to interview like that. Tim Lay's now got the helmet off. Does that overcut work for you?
Does it what? Overcut?
Does it work for you?
I hope so. That's the plan, but anyway, we'll chuck the kid in and see what happens.
Fresh as a daisy, you feeling all right?
Yeah, no problem, mate. No problem. I just hope it's not 2 tenths for every grey, otherwise I'm in trouble. Me and you.
Can we finish with a little thought on the start of the race? You had all of us captivated when you went through turn 1. What happened? Was that just cold tyres? What was that? It looked like a pretty wild ride.
I don't know. I just haven't been able to get heat in the rears. And I went through there and I just had nothing in the rear. The only thing in the rear I've got is in my undies right now.
We'll let you go and watch Cody's performance. There you go.
Well, the Mayor of Orange turning it on. We love that. So, Rusty, we can tell you the story is that Ryland Gray has got back out in front, and some really good outlaps from the Lubramax Mustang has this car now in a really good position to potentially lead the race outright. Max Gagan is in the lane serving their stop. Chris Lillis has served a stop and leads the AM class. Silver AM led by Aaron Seaton, 22 minutes to go. So there it is. There's the visual between them. That's how they have rejoined. Ryland Gray. Blake Purdy has been served that 5-second penalty. And Cody Bircher will drop behind. So the timing totem on left of screen will update shortly. Ryland Gray will flash across the line just about now. And it's a 1:35.6 for him. Bircher on the outlap, so it's 3.7 seconds the margin. Nash Morris in the TechWorks Porsche is behind them in 4th place. Purdy 5th, Camilleri 6th. All silver class cars. Aaron Seaton up to 7th and leading Silver Am. Then Nathan Morecambe, Hugo Allen up to 9th, and Jared Hughes in the top 10.
And remember, Jared Hughes was our pole man for qualifying 1. He put half a second on the field in that qualifying session with a 33.0. So keep an eye out for him. They obviously had to serve an extra 10 seconds, and he's right in behind Hugo Allen, so probably not far off making an overtake there to get into 9th position. As we've got Aaron Seaton, who took over the 71 Mustang from Gomersall. Nathan Morecambe in the 24 McLaren, he sits in 8th position. And I'm going to say Nash Morris and Zoe Woods, they're up in 4th position. So that's quite a nice spot for them at the moment, with still about 21 minutes remaining in this race.
Yeah, that's been a really good return. We're just waiting for the timing to update to tell you where the Method Motorsport McLaren has reset itself in the field with that 15 seconds of extra pit stop time. Well, there it is, going through shot now, up behind Aaron Seaton. So it's going to be 7th. Seaton will be up to 6th position, and Tom Heyman will be 7th in this very close battle pack with Jake Camilleri in the mix here as well. So there it is. That's the car that led the race. That shows you what that extra pit stop time does. That's the price of winning in Monochrome GT4 Australia. It's 15 seconds added to your time. So Ryland Gray will shuffle to the race lead. Cody Bircher 2nd. Nash Morris now 3rd. Purdy 4th, but has a 5-second penalty hanging over his head for pit lane speed. Then it's Camilleri, Seaton. Heyman is 7th. I don't know if he'll be 7th for long, though. He's got Aaron Seaton and Jake Camilleri right in front in the gun sights.
So Heyman's about 12.5 seconds off the race lead. But he's got a few cars in front of him that he'll need to pass if he wants to try and get back up onto that podium, as Nash Morris is actually up into 3rd position. So must have made that move on Blake Purdy.
And it's not like he's racing amateurs either. He's up against the best. And Aaron Seaton, Camilleri, Nash Morris and co in front to try and get back to the race lead. So Ford Mustang on top at Sydney Motorsport Park. Ryland Gray has a 3.7 second lead in the Lubramax Mustang over Cody Bircher. A pit stop battle between those two teams. It basically ended out lockstep with how they all played out. The margin remained very much the same, but the big winner out of all of this has been TechWorks Motorsport in that blue and white Porsche going through shot. Nash Morris sharing with Zoe Woods up to 3rd position. Blake Purdy 4th in the Audi R8, but has a 5-second penalty looming for them to be added to the end of the race. This is a little bit further back. It's Jake Camilleri under pressure from Tom Heyman, who's already passed Aaron Seaton and got himself to 6th position, and this will now be for P5. And he has still got a podium in his sights.
Yeah, and if he can get Camilleri showing the pace in that McLaren, then he's got to try and get past Blake Purdy if he wants to get onto the back of Nash Morris. Stubbsy?
Thank you, George Miedeke, alongside me. George, talk us through the strategy and how this race has come to you.
Yeah, look, we actually had a couple of small problems with the car last night, which, you know, we didn't really feel like everything was right, and the boys dived right into it, and we managed to rectify them for today, and car balance is completely different. So, you know, from having a super, super loose car yesterday, it's a little bit understeery today, but it's definitely something that's manageable, and for me, that first stint was about trying to preserve the tyres. You know, the Mustang's quite heavy, this track's quite abrasive, and so we fall off a little bit more than some of the other smaller cars over the race. So it was about trying to make sure Ryland had something to fight with at the end.
Fighting in the restart too.
Yeah, like use the tyres up a little bit there. Look, I think the McLaren obviously is super, super fast this weekend. The boys are doing a great job driving it, but this old boy's got a few tricks, and you know, I wanted to make him fight for it at the very least. So I thought I might have had him, but he hung tough. He did a really good job, and it was great racing.
And your young pup in Ryland Gray, those outlaps were really important, weren't they?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, he's just faultless always. He's like a metronome. The guy gets in the car and he goes as fast as he'll go, and that's why we got him in the seat. You know, it's and I'm really proud of the job he's doing. So, look, he'll do the best he can. Obviously, you know, we're fighting a losing battle with the DEG, so it's about whether we can hold on from here. But I wouldn't want anyone else in the seat, I'll tell you that.
Well said, and good luck.
Thanks, mate.
Thank you, Stubbsy. Appreciate that. It's being told timing drive-through penalty for car 32. That's the leader of the AM class. So Jacob Lawrence, a pit stop procedure. Did they not have a pit stop issue yesterday in that team as well? So the Randall Racing, they're going to have to serve a drive-through. That's a big whack. So 30 plus seconds will disappear. And that hands the lead of the AM class over to Walker in the number 14 car.
Well, they got a drive-through penalty yesterday, Crailsy, for a pit stop procedure as well, like you touched on. So 2 drive-through penalties in 2 days. I think they're going to need to review that as a team and see what's going on there. There's clearly some sort of breakdown in the systems that they're using to do the timing for their mandatory pit stops. So they'll need to rectify that for the next round. But looking at Heyman here, he's really caught the back of Blake Purdy, and he's now, what, 2 seconds behind Blake Purdy on our timing. It looks like the gap's less than that. It looks like it's under a second here. So with that pace offset, I think he'll be able to make his way past Purdy pretty quickly, but then it's the challenge of trying to find 6 seconds to get on the back of Nash Morris, who's now only about half a second behind Cody Bircher.
The Silver Am leader is still Aaron Seaton just in the back of this, but we'll follow this good battle for 4th and 5th place in the silver class, and indeed outright, and this could be the move right here into 12. Tick the box. 5-second penalty anyway for Purdy, so there's not too much point in him fighting it. It'll just slow himself down. He needs to get the most out of this race, because right now a 5-second penalty will drop him down to 10th position, right to the back of the top 10. Meanwhile, Nash Morris has got to the back of Cody Bircher, so this is for 2nd and 3rd. And the TechWorks Porsche getting to the back of the young man from Orange, the Flash, who continues to do double duties in a whole bunch of different racing categories. Trans Am a couple of weeks ago at the Mountain, and now looks down the inside potentially at 4, but no room there yet.
Probably just going to sit in behind Cody Bircher for a little bit to work out the strengths and weaknesses of that BMW before he capitalises on an overtake.
So the fight on for 2nd on the road. Can the Porsche work its way up to 2nd? And then, is there any shot at it getting to the Mustang in the race lead? We'll find out soon. Aaron Seaton leads Silver Am, and Glenn Walker leads the way in the Am class, 15th outright. So this fight will build as the race goes on. 4.6 seconds, the leading margin, and the longer these two scrap, the more opportunity Ryland Gray has to manage those tyres and that deck that George Medicki was talking about.
And here's that great battle for 2nd position. Nash just trying to show the nose into turn 9 there and spook Cody Bircher. A little bit of smoke coming off that right rear as well of the Porsche, so whether that's just a tyre rubbing on the guard there, probably nothing too serious. It's really, you just see it when it's loaded up on the exit of left-handers. Nash just once again just letting his presence be felt on Cody Bircher and hoping that Cody's just driving in his mirrors as the Blake Purdy out. He's just lost a bit of pace here, hasn't it, Crailsey?
Oh, off it. What's going on down there? That's one of the Randall Racing BMWs. I thought for a moment it might have been Morris Bircher, because those two were boxing on for 2nd place.
He's got a right rear puncture there, Crailsey, it looks like. So not quite sure whether that's let go on the way in. You can see the right rear is looking to try and self-destruct. I think he'll just need to trundle back. That's Palermo. And
that looks worse than a puncture. The rear wheel looked like it was floating around within the wheel arch there. I wonder if there's a bigger failure than that.
Yeah, just need to bring that back really slowly, or if not, pull over to the side, because yeah, that's quite an odd. I mean, it is predominantly left-handed corners here, and the right rear does a lot of work. And yeah, I'm sure that would have let go on the way in, and nothing that he can do. You're just a passenger at that point there. So this is going to feel like an eternity, such a long lap from that point, because it happened at turn 1. So you got another 3.8 roughly kilometres, and that's an attempted overtake. That's the 32 of Lawrence, who's just served his drive-through penalty.
It dropped him out of the class lead, which was 16th, all the way down to 24th position. So that's been hugely costly. Gee, it's not been a great 15 minutes or so for Randall Racing. Here's Shane Smollen.
All over the back of Walker. So this is a great little battle for the class lead in Am here, with just around 12 minutes to go. And Smollen, we've seen, has been super impressive on his return to the category, and whether or not he can try and get his way around Walker here. But yeah, like you touched on, Crailsey, it's been a big shame for the 32 of Jacob Lawrence.
So just over 11 and a half minutes to go. Race 2, Monochrome GT4. The fight for the AM Class lead continues to build, and Shane Smollen has the tail wagging on his Porsche 718 Cayman GT4 factory-built Porsche race car, chasing down the BMW M3 that is leading the way, AM4 I should say, GT4 car. Meanwhile, further back, Jake Camilleri continues to box on with Aaron Seaton. This is a fight for the back half of the top 5. Camilleri 5th, Seaton 6th. Around the outside goes Jared Hughes. Seaton continues to lead the way in the silver AM class. Now, interestingly, that game over car, the white Toyota Supra that's just locked itself onto the back of this battle pack, is young Kiwi Hugo Allen, the winner of the GR86 Championship in New Zealand. And he is second in the silver AM class. Shares this car with Tony Quinn, earned this drive as a result of winning the Kiwi Championship a couple of weeks ago in Topor as that BMW limps back to pit lane. So there's a bit of a silver AM battle going on, and now Nash Morris, speaking of battles, has got the job done on Cody Bircher.
And while this battle rages on, as Bircher goes back past, that is an excellent move to regain second position, as Nash is now, there's not much he could really do there. I thought Nash had that move done, and he's just ran a little bit wider than he would have liked, and that's the beauty of turn 2 here. It goes on for such a long time. It's a really long radius corner that you can do that move, and Cody committed to that. Nowhere Nash could have gone, but I think Nash does have the pace over Bircher at this point in the race. But while they're battling, you know what this is doing? This is just helping Heyman, as here comes Nash Morris down the inside turn number 6. Can't quite get it done, and that first sector has cost second and third a second of time over Heyman, and that gap now is going to be under 4 seconds, I reckon, when they get through the Sector 2 timing line.
Well, the other interesting thing is we heard from George Medicki with concerns over tyre life on the number 35 car, and that gap had come down to 3.8 seconds to the race lead from over 5. So they were actually catching the Mustang out in front as well, but now they're engaged in this dogfight for second. It's just allowed Ryland Gray to breathe and pull away a little bit further. And Heyman, yeah, you're right, absolutely reeling them in the McLaren. This is what we love about GT4 racing. These battles started yesterday at the start of race 1, and now they're finally starting to play out at the end of race 2.
Well, I think even if Heyman finished in 4th position, that'd be an excellent result due to that safety car that we saw early in the race. But if he can capitalise on this battle and get himself onto the podium, or maybe even into second place, I mean, not only would that be an incredible result for them, but it would be fantastic for their championship as well, because first and second is what they recorded at Phillip Island, and they could essentially do the same here today. But like I've said before, and we've all said in motorsport, catching is one thing, passing is another.
Thanks, Murray. So, just to recap, Ryland Gray out in front, and that margin's blown out by a second after that furious lap of battling between them. Aaron Seaton and Hugo Allen are shaping up for a little bit of a fight here in Silver Am, and then Walker and Smollen continue to fight for the Am class. So there's battles everywhere we look in this final race for Monochrome GT4 Australia, but we're looking at the one for second in the Silver Am class, and potentially 4th place as well. The Toughly McLaren goes around. Zach Suter, 14th place on the road. And this is the AM class battle getting choked up in all of this.
It looks like there's some damage on the front right splitter of the 75 of Zach Suter as well. So I don't know whether he might have made...
Oh, Walker around the outside. And Smollen. So the Porsche and the BMW fighting for the class lead. Suter trying not to drop any further down after an off.
He's got to be careful here, because these guys are... Well, Suter's in his own race. And then you've got Walker and Smollen, which he would probably have no idea that they're actually racing for a class victory here. And he's just parked himself now in between them, which would be very frustrating for Smollen as we look here. And he's just looped it. Yeah, so thankfully no one else involved there, and didn't actually lose too much time, really. I think that set him back, 5 seconds he lost in that spin, which is not too much, but he'll probably make his way back past Walker, which then they can get on with the battle.
Tom Heyman was 1.1 seconds quicker than Nash Morris last time by. So that duel for second, Bircher and Morris, slowing them up. Heyman continues to reel them in. He's within a second now in that fight. So, and he continues to haul them in. That is going to be a 3-way fight before we know it. And with the pace that McLaren's got, it feel like he could drive by them both at the moment.
Speaking of McLaren's, the Suter McLaren's a bit of tape that's been applied to the front right of that thing, so it's been somewhat bruised at some stage of this race. And yeah, this battle for second, like you said, Crailsey, all that's doing is helping Ryland Gray, because the pace...
He's right there.
He's right there, absolutely. And the pace from Heyman at the moment, compared to Ryland Gray, our race leader, is he's nearly a second, he's over a second faster to the second sector of our race leader. So I think Ryland Gray is really starting to hurt. But this battle could save the race leader.
Completely correct. Exactly right. It's just buying Ryland Gray some time for him to be really smooth and consistent. Doesn't have to drive the thing as hard as he needs, because these guys are battling. So that if Heyman does clear these two, there's a very good chance that he could cruise up to the back, but at least the Mustang would have something to fight for. He was miles quicker last time round. Heyman pulled 1.5 out of the race leader and a second out of these two in front. So he's right there now. He came out of pit lane more than 13 seconds behind the lead. It's now 4.9, and it could be closer because he's looking to put a move on Nash Morris.
And even while they're still battling, second, third, and fourth were all faster than our race leader on that last lap. So whilst this battle continues, they are all still catching our race leader. The gap now between first and second is around about 4 seconds. So whether it's just a case of Ryland just looking after those tyres, or like Madiki said, they are struggling a bit with tyre degradation in that Ford Mustang. Got to be careful, because we are down to about 5 minutes remaining in this race, and Heyman will be thinking, I need to just find my way past these guys. Great drone shots here at Sydney Motorsport Park. We saw a few magpies there getting out of the way at Corporate Hill. And now Nash Morris will have that McLaren all in his rear vision mirrors as we exit out of turn number 8.
5 different brands in the top 5 as we race our wards towards the checkered flag. Stubbsy.
Yeah, just updating some of the issues down here at Randall Racing. We saw the problem for Jacob Lawrence and the drive-through penalty car controller touching the car there. So as you guys know well, strict rules about who can touch the car and when in our pit stops. And the 66 is still in the lane after that elimination. Lib Palermo behind the wheel. They needed to do some work to that car. Obviously 3.8 kilometres with a puncture does do a little bit of damage, so they've had to push the car into the garage, but hoping to get it back out shortly.
The update from the pit lane. Heyman moving around under brakes, 4 minutes to go. Ryland Gray just doing the right thing out in front, stroking the Mustang home. This is a great fight. Second, third and fourth place, full of energy. And now Morris has got to deal with Heyman. It's just freed Bircher up a little bit in that BMW in second position. I wonder if it's turn 12 potentially. It might happen here at 6, but that McLaren's been so good getting into that final corner and just getting the nose up the inside.
Yeah, he has. I think the Porsche's really starting to struggle, because Nash dropped a wheel off the exit of turn 3 and then slid all through turn number 4, and even Heyman was losing the rear end on the way into turn 2. So the longer Heyman stays behind Morris, it's only going to hurt his tyres as well, as Heyman right on the back now of Nash Morris. And like you said, Crailsey, this is just helping Bircher gap Morris. It's about probably half a second, 0.8 of a second now between Bircher and Morris. And I'll tell you what, Bircher on this lap found about half a second in the middle sector on Ryland Gray. But the problem is we are running out of time, running out of laps. We're about just approaching 2.5 minutes remaining in this race. So we're probably looking at another 2 or 3 laps here. So that battle that we saw a few laps ago, that just helped stretch that margin between Ryland Gray and Cody Bircher.
Well, last time round, Bircher took 5/10 out of the race leader. Now he's sort of been released from Nash Morris. He's got some opportunity just to extend that margin and maybe have a little go, because Morris will be driving to the rearview mirrors now with Heyman trying to squeeze his way past. 2 minutes and 15 seconds to go. Race 2 Monochrome GT4. All results still on the table. The battle in silver and will stay with this fight because it's for the outright podium and in silver classes. Heyman looked down the inside there. There was a brief moment where he thought perhaps, yep, I can release the brake and squeeze it down. But Morris was up to that, but now has to defend at 6.
And I think Heyman could go for the switchback here on the exit, as there's almost contact. Heyman
Nash
down the inside of Nash Morris. Heyman will have to bomb it down there to make it work, but Nash has sent it around the outside to hang on to that position. That was a great little exchange between those two, but whether or not Heyman can get a cutback or not.
Sorry, mate. How shallow did Nash come off 6-0? But basically on the left-hand side of the road, trying to cover off the McLaren, but it worked for him. He holds onto the position.
Well, Nash knows he's in a podium position right now, and they just missed out on one yesterday, and I think they would love to step on that podium, Morris and Zoe Woods. It'd be a great way to finish the weekend, and just that little exchange has cost them so much time to Bircher. So Bircher will be loving life right now as they cross the line. Bircher just took another 7/10 out of Ryland Gray. So that gap now down to 2.5 seconds from our race leader to second place. But yeah, running out of time here.
This has been a great relationship for TechWorks Motorsport. They've had a long association with the Morris family, but Zoe has spent plenty of time at the Normal Motorplex and their driver training that they do there. She and Nash have built a really good friendship, and the opportunity for them to share this car this year for TechWorks with Zoe was too good to pass up, and it's been a great partnership. There have been lots of comments about the fact that the catering at that team with the senior elements of the Morris family have been looking after that. Nan and Pop have been doing the work in the catering department, which is great. So they're all loving it. Paul's here, looking fit and fiddle as a race car driver is the dude at the moment too. Been on the program.
Must have been the catering.
Well, yeah, maybe. Eat healthy. So it's a good partnership and looking to get themselves a podium finish. Tom Heyman still looking every which way, trying to find his way past. Maybe channel some of that V8 Ute racing mentality that he built in Super Utes for a little bit there. As he tries and squeezes his way past. Use less panels, I would think, in a GT4 car though.
Yeah, well, I think Heyman would be getting pretty frustrated now, knowing that as they cross the line, I'd say that we would be starting our final lap as the clock has gone to minus. And Ryland Gray would be very relieved, I'd say, because once again on that last lap, Bircher took another 7/10 out of the race lead as Ryland Gray just got to navigate a little bit of traffic, but I think we're going to run out of time here for Bircher, but it's just worked out perfectly for Gray and Medikian, just been confirmed. This is the final lap of the race.
1.7 seconds, but already less than that. Can Bircher clear the Mercedes AMG? Is there a late twist in the tail of this race? Bircher easily passed. Down towards turn 4. Battle on. Morris defends. Heyman has to go around the outside. He's going to go around the outside. He's going to go on the grass. There's no space there and certainly no traction. And is that the opportunity Morris needs to lock in that position? Don't worry about track limits on the final lap. Flash defends, puts the car in the middle of the road. The over-under again, there's a little bump, a nudge on the outside of 6. But if anything, it gave the Porsche a little push forward out of the corner.
Yeah, Nash just delayed his throttle there and just parked it on the apex, knowing what... and there's the battle for the lead. Sorry, yeah, that's how close it's getting between Bircher and Gray. But yeah, unfortunately, I think he's going to run out of time. Whether or not Heyman can have one last attack, possibly into turn 11, or whether or not that will be it. And that'd be a heck of a defense that Nash Morris has put on this afternoon, or this morning, I should say.
Oh, he looks down the inside, Heyman. It's going to be super close to the line, but the checkered flag will fly first for Ryland Gray and George Medici. The Lubramax Mustang is on top on Sunday at Sydney Motorsport Park, and the winning margin was 0.6 of a second in the end. Cody Bircher chased him down at the end. Nash Morris home in third place. Tom Heyman just misses out on a podium after a great recovery drive in the McLaren. Aaron Seton wins silver AM and will pick up the AM class leaders because there has been a change at the pointy end of that. And Glenn Walker will lose the lead to Shane Smollen. So the defending champ in this category has made a return this weekend. He missed round 1 to drive the GT3 Porsche. He's back in the GT4 car. And Shane Smollen in the yellow and blue car is going to get himself a race win in car number 1.
Great comeback from yesterday. It looks like Augustine. Is that Augustine?
That's a 33, yeah. So that's
past Walker as well.
That's a position change for second and third. So Walker has dropped 2 spots right at the end of this race. Augustine up to second, Walker third, as those 3 flash across the line in the AM class. Wow.
That's a case of what could have been for the 32 as well of Jacob Lawrence this weekend, because they showed plenty of pace, but those pit stop penalties really cost them.
So Ryland Gray, Cody Bircher, Nash Morris, the top three. Tom Heyman just misses out. What a cracking drive that was. Jared Hughes, by the way, recovered to P5 with Summer Rental. It's been a ripper weekend for Triple Eight. Aaron Seaton and Jason Gomersall. Good bounce back from yesterday to win Silver Am. And then you can see Shane Smolin on top in the Am class with the red number. Jamie Augustine and Glenn Walker, those three, nothing between them as they cross the line. Literally a second between the top three cars. Great race, Monochrome GT4.
There were some great battles, wasn't there? The leader, Gray and Bircher separated, or the winner I should say, separated by 6/10, and then third place was separated by 3/10 of a second. Seaton to Camilleri, 2/10 of a second, then 7/10 of a second, 2/10. So plenty of battles this morning. They certainly turned it on for us today, didn't they? The Monochrome GT4 Australia Series, Krause.
And a new lap record as well for the driver of that McLaren Artura, Tom Heyman. 1 minute 34.13. That was set with Max Gagan behind the wheel on the second lap of the race. They were in clean air. They were driving away. And the question has to be asked, what could have been for them to do the double potentially, which is a rare thing, to do the double had it not been for that safety car? Could they have built, well, they only needed a 4.6 second margin in the end.
How many times have we said in the past, Krause, just one more lap, what could have been if there was one more lap? But yeah, this is motor racing. That's how long the race goes for. And Ryland Gray and Mediki got it to a T this afternoon, and they will be wrapped with that result for the 35 Ford Mustang. And as Ryland gets out of the car,
gets outfitted with his Pirelli stickers and the Pirelli cap as well. Oh, that was a fun race. This category is just booming. And we're looking forward to more of it at Queensland Raceway in just basically 4 weeks' time at that incredible facility that has had a completely new lease on life in recent times. Massive upgrade, new pit buildings. There'll be a new podium there in time by the time we get there. So the investment continues, and I think these cars at that venue are going to be awesome to watch.
Yeah, absolutely. Do you reckon Ryland was relieved to see the checkered
flag?
flag?
I think he was. I think he absolutely was. Stubbsy, what a good victory lane this will be.
A great victory lane this will be. Ryland Gray, that was a great battle. Congratulations. Talk us through it.
Yeah, it was pretty good race, pretty good recovery from yesterday, I'd say. George got off to a flying start, as he usually does. So, yeah, we got a late safety car before the pit window opened, which sort of screwed us a little, but that's okay. So, jumped in, drove as hard as I could, drove the tyres off it to get a gap, and that paid off in the end. But, yeah, by the end, definitely holding on.
George wasn't totally sure what kind of tyres you had left underneath. You tried to look after you. What was it like? Was it a bit of a handful in those closing laps?
Yeah, I think I was driving on rims for half the at the end of the race there, but yeah, we ended up getting the win, which is pretty pumped to be back on the top step.
George, he's super impressive, isn't he?
Yeah, absolutely. As I said in the interview, you know, I wouldn't want anyone else in the seat for that last stint, so he did an excellent job. He always, you put him in the car, he never puts a foot wrong, and yeah, as you could see, you know, from a pace perspective, we just weren't there, but he did a great job, and we set that standard at the start of the stint, so you know, all props to him, did a really good job.
Well done, boys. Enjoy it.
Thanks, mate.
So that's our silver winners for today and our second race of the weekend in Monochrome GT4 Australia. Just making my way down to our Silver Am victors. Gentlemen, congratulations. Jason, I'll start with you. Fantastic drive. Well done.
Oh, thank you. I had to do a better job than what I did last night. So we had a good starting position today, so made the most of it. Handed over to this guy to finish off, which he always does well. So, yeah.
Aaron, how was it for you? A nice win.
Yeah, the car was mega. Obviously, good start to Jace. He did an awesome job and qualified really well. And no, he's just driving great. And thanks to all the team at Gomerson Motorsport, all our partners that make all this happen.
Boys, congratulations.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
So Jason Gomersall there and Aaron Seaton, which brings us down to our AM winner for the second time this weekend, Shane Smolin. Congratulations, a bit of TV time for you once again, and another trophy to be presented on the podium shortly.
Might need a sponsor. Yeah, look, it was always going to be interesting with the 15 seconds and the silvers coming through. It was just all about the win, and I just had to bide my time. These boys did a great job at holding me out, and it was just about no contact. And I think there was always going to be a moment, and we fortunately found that, and just delighted to get 2 wins for the weekend.
That is the perfect way to come back to Monochrome Australia GT4, isn't it?
Yeah, I'll probably get a 6 out of 10 out of Chaz, which is better than a 3. So, no, I'm pretty happy with that. Thanks so much.
Well done.
In the mix of marks that are enjoying some success, nice to see the Supra up there. Did I just walk in on you maybe giving your grandson a bit of curry too? What were you saying over there to Ryder?
No, I was saying the Scottish, well done. Well done, number one. No, maybe not number one, I don't know, but no, it was good.
Well done. A couple of weeks ago, you decided to support both Hugo with this, and we'll see Chris White Jr. at Queensland Raceway. A couple of youngsters that have done well in 86. Nice job by him here this weekend.
Yeah, first thing is it's not my choice, it's the trustees' choice. So, you know, but the TQF's here to stay, and we want to make a good impression on the landscape, and, you know, we're off to a good start. So, bit of pressure on Chris for next event, so we'll see. But Hugo did a great job, very good in the wet. We lost our way a wee bit with tyres and strategy yesterday, but today we came back, so it was good.
Have you enjoyed that? It's been fantastic to have you here at Sydney Motorsport Park and a part of this operation. How much has that meant, this opportunity in Australia?
Yeah, mate, honestly, all weekend I've just loved it. Spending all the time with Tony and Tom, who's come to help me out for the weekend. So yeah, I'm just loving it. Enjoyed it yesterday, even though we weren't quite there. But I think during the race yesterday, I learned a lot about the tyre and the limits of a slick tyre. It's not quite as forgiving as the Bridgestone semi-slick that we run back in New Zealand in the 86 series. So I used it as a bit of a practice session to just learn some stuff, and yeah, today it obviously worked out pretty well for us.
Well done. Before we let you go, the Tom that you alluded to is just over your shoulder there, in Tom Alexander. He's raced here in Australia. How's he helped this weekend?
He's a mentor as well as a driver coach for me. I've known Tom for quite a while. He helped me step into cars when I came out of sim racing. So yeah, I'm lucky to have him help me out here. But yeah, look, I can't thank TQF enough for the opportunity.
We're going to have to let you guys go.
He's really helped me too, Tom, because he makes me look really good.
Does he?
Yeah.
Thank you, guys. Well done.
Thanks, mate. Cheers.
Fun when Tony Quinn's on the TV. I love it. Great program. Highlights, Monochrome GT4 Australia Race 2. This was an absolute beauty, and it ebbed and flowed like they always do. Good start from the McLaren down the inside there. And Max Gagan put his head down and drove away. Smashed the lap record by about 0.8 of a second in that race as well, as everyone sorted themselves out. A safety car, though, would ultimately be quite costly for Method Motorsport, because it surrendered an early lead they had with maximum pit stop time. Busy in the midfield, as always. This was a big impact. Driver taken to the medical centre. Nikolovsky okay, taken for precautionary checks, and that was the safety car that slowed the race. Restart was busy too, and George Medicki had the elbows out in the Lubramax Mustang while Tim Lay was watching on behind, and so too Jake Camilleri. And this is some of the better GT4 racing we've seen all year. The different strengths and weaknesses of the cars really took effect, and Gagan almost lost the car in the middle of turn one. Medicki had a big run at the outside, then it switched to the inside. Tim Lay just watching them trade barbs out in front. So too Jake Camilleri, and it took 5 corners, but finally Gagan held on. Then the pit stops happened. These guys stopped late to try and maximise the fact that they had to serve an extra 15 seconds. It ultimately dropped them further down. This was a huge moment. Tyre going on the entry to turn one at more than 200 kilometres an hour, and it spun to the outside of the racetrack. No safety car though, and then the field started to condense, and Tom Heyman was trying to find every which way to work his way past Nash Morris. Ultimately, he made up more than 10 seconds to get down to the race winner, but it was Rylan Gray who held out Cody Bircher by 0.6 to grab the win. Let's celebrate that great race with the Monochrome GT4 podium.
Welcome to the podium presentation for the Race 2 of the 2025 Monochrome GT4 Australia Round 2 at GT Festival Sydney. Presenting Stefan Rattal, the founder and CEO of SRO Motorsports Group. Could you please welcome the winners for the Silver Cup? In third place for TechWorks Motorsport, ZW Racing, Nash Morris and Zoe Woods. And in second place for Ashley Seawood Motorsport, Cody Bircher and Tim Lay. And in first place today for Medecky Motorsport with Lubrimax, Rylan Gray and George Medecky. Ladies and gentlemen, your Monochrome GT4 Australia Silver Cup winners. And now for the celebrations. And as we reset, we get ready to welcome the top 3 placed cars for the Silver AM class. And once again presenting the trophy, Stefan Rattal, the founder and CEO of SRO Motorsports Group. In third place for Thunder Buddies Racing and TechWorks, Ryder Quinn and Steve Jakic. In second place for Celtic Racing, Hugo Allen and Tony Quinn. And in first place for Gomersall Motorsport, Aaron Seaton and Jason Gomersall. Ladies and gentlemen, your Monochrome GT4 Australia Silver AM winners. And now for the celebrations. And as we reset the podium for the final time, please welcome the top 3 placed cars for the AM Cup. In third place for Gomersall Motorsport, Glenn Walker. In second place for Randall Racing, Jamie Augustine and Peter Lawrence. And in first place, once again, for Method Motorsport, Shane Smollen. Ladies and gentlemen, your Monochrome GT4 Australia AM Cup class winners. And let the celebrations begin. Plenty more action still to come from Sydney Motorsport Park, round 2 of the Shannons Speed Series. Stay with us for more.